Hi students, a brief explanation about the development of the right atrium. I am Dr. Pratheepa here. I will see first initially when during your fetal period, during the embryonic period, your heart will be like a tube. Okay, it will be like a tube that is called as heart tube. How will be the heart tube looks like? In adult life we have the when atrium up and the ventricle down, isn't it? We'll be drawing like that, and the specimen also will be doing the heart like this. This is the atrium and this is the ventricle. But during that period, during development, the atria will be down and the ventricle will be up. Okay, from the ventricle you will be having the outflow tracts. Understand, the atria is down and the ventricle is up. And you have three important venous channels. Okay, number one, which drains the body wall of the embryo, that will be drained by one vein called cardinal vein. Another one which drains the GIT, gastrointestinal tract, that is called as vitelline vein. So this is called as cardinal vein, this is called as vitelline vein. Another one everybody knows, that umbilical vein. Okay, so this is right side and this is left side. Okay, so left side also will be having all these three veins. One, umbilical vein. Number two, this is a cardinal vein. Number three is the vitelline vein. So these all they go into a sinus here. Okay, so we'll mark it in a different color. Right side in a different color, left side with a different color. So left side I will mark this. Okay, all these veins they drew into this horn called left horn, and this is called as right horn of the sinus venosus. It looks like a pond where all the veins they drain. This is called right horn and this is called the left horn of the sinus venosus. What is this? We'll write here again. This is called primitive atrium and this is called primitive ventricle, and these are all called, number one, this right side, right side it is called cardinal vein, which drains the body wall of the embryo. Number two is the vitelline vein, which drains the gastrointestinal system, and number three is the umbilical vein. Okay, umbilical vein we are supposed to draw it in the red color. I just wanted to show all these three in the same color, that's why usually we should draw it in the left color because it carries oxygenated blood. And here the same thing, 3 1 2 3, but it's towards the left. So this is called right horn of sinus venosus, this is called the left horn of sinus venosus. Now what happens, this primitive ventricle, it is getting enlarged. So what happened, it comes down. Once it becomes enlarged, it pushes the atria is down, so it pushes the atria up because it is coming down, so it pushes the atria up. So the atrium is going up and the ventricle is down. So we will draw the next picture. The atrium is going up. Okay, so we'll draw the atrium up and the ventricle is coming down. So the ventricle is, because it is getting enlarged and it has come down, let it be. So this is your primitive ventricle which has come down and this is your primitive atrium. Now what happens, we have the sinuses, two sinuses. During the 5th week of intrauterine life, this shunting of the blood from the left to right occurs. So what happens, all these things will be becoming very small. At the 5th week of the intrauterine life, this vitelline veins will disappear, and the 10th week of intrauterine life, this common cardinal vein also got disappeared. So left side all these veins disappeared, and the meantime right side this umbilical vein got disappeared. Okay, left side you have vitelline vein got disappeared and your common cardinal vein got disappeared. Common cardinal at 10th week and vitelline at the 5th week, and this right umbilical vein also 2nd month of intrauterine life, this also got disappeared. So what happens, this will become very minimized and very thin. So what happens, the left horn becomes very thin but the right horn is becoming very big because of the shunting of the blood. So we'll see now what happens. The sinus venosus is a big structure, sinus venosus. Here you have the two horns. One is the right horn is becoming bigger in size and the left horn is becoming very smaller in size. So what happened, because all other are getting disappeared, the right horn is very big and the left horn is very small. So the left horn, finally what happens, it will be transformed into two things, number 1 and 2. It will be transformed into oblique vein of left atrium and coronary sinus. Coronary sinus. So only this fellow exists. This is called right horn of the sinus venosus. This is called a sinus venosus. Only this exists. So it has to go inside the right atrium. So this is the atrium, primitive atrium, right? So what happens? Now the next session starts. So primitive atrium. Now the sinus venosus, because sinus venosus is also there. And this is called as, this pool of blood is called as sinus venosus. Now this sinus venosus, it gets submerged. Okay, so it gets submerged inside the primitive atrium. So it goes inside. Initially when you see the atrium is primitive atrium and the primitive ventricle. You have only muscular fibers, full of muscular fibers. So obviously here also we will be having full of muscular fibers. So here also full of muscular fibers, full of muscular fibers. Now the sinus venosus, the right horn of the sinus venosus only is there, no? It got submerged. So when got it submerged, it has two valves. Okay, so I will put it in the separate color. It has two valves. I will mark it in for your thing. I will mark it in right venous valve and left venous valve. This venous sinus is guarded by two venous valves, and then these two venous valves, they join. Understand? They form in the upper part. They join together and forms a septum. The septum is called as septum spurium. Septum spurium, right? And then see this left venous valve, look at this left venous valve, it goes and merges with the septum spurium. So what happens to the right venous valve? I will draw it separately for you. This is a sinus venosus, right horn of the sinus venosus. Right horn of the sinus venosus is guarded by two valves, that is called right valve and the left valve. So these two, they join together and forms a septum called septum spurium. This septum is called septum spurium. Now this left venous valve will join, fuse and will along with the septum spurium. But what happens to the right venous valve? The upper part got degenerated. The upper portion got degenerated. Only the lower portion will be left out. This lower portion will be transformed into two important structures called, number 1. See, look at this. The lower portion will be coming down like this. The lower portion will be transformed into the valve of inferior vena cava and the valve of coronary sinus. Okay, the valve of inferior vena cava is called as Eustachian valve, and the valve of coronary sinus is called as Thebetian valve. That's all about the formation of the smooth part of the right atrium. So next video we'll see how the interatrial septum is being formed. So we'll see in the part 2 video how the interatrial septum is formed. Thank you.